stronger. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Andy Cortez. He lives in Compton, so he's from the community. So he's from your backyard. He works in Norwalk now, but he made his mark in the downtown LA market, and that's where we are now. So without further ado, Mr. Andy Cortez.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Andy Cortez. I'm a private client advisor for JP Morgan Wealth Management, and I've been working with Chris since I started with Chase back in 2016. I actually do remember when Chris was sitting at a desk here. This office didn't look anything like what it looks like now. But before I get started, I do just have to read one disclosure. I don't have this memorized, so I'm going to read this out right now. The discussion today is for informational purposes only. The speaker's opinion belongs to them and may differ from opinions of JP Morgan Securities LLC and its affiliates. This is not an investment research call, and it is not personal investment advice or solicitation or recommendation. Investment products are not bank deposit products, which means they are not guaranteed by the bank, not FDIC insured, and have risk like the possibility of losing money on your investment. Okay?
So Andy,
Yes.
I love that you read that disclosure, so we get that out of the way. But we have one small little thing that we need to do prior. It is Lisa's birthday. And so we want to make sure that Lisa's family, that she feels loved, because she's going to leave a little bit early because she has to go to her birthday dinner or festivities. So if we could start off the meeting by singing happy birthday to Lisa.
All right.
That'd be very much appreciated. I know, Lisa, you're going to kill me.
All right.
But on three, we're going to do this together. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lisa. Happy birthday to you.
Yes, and I'm gonna let Lisa sneak out here with some cake, but we're gonna have cake for Lisa at the end as well, but she may be gone, so I just wanted to make sure we did that. Just because I love her spirit. She said it's my birthday, but I have to invest in myself.
Yes.
So she made sure that the first stop on her birthday party was here.
All right.
So the floor is all yours, Andy.
All right, so I'll get started here with investing is for everyone.
For those of you maybe need something to write, I have pens and pads as well. Double click it twice, Andy.
It's not working.
Hold on, I got you. It's just because we paused, I apologize. There you go. Now you should do that.
So investing is for everyone, and today what we're going to learn about is the big picture, first steps, building your portfolio, ways to invest, and managing your strategy. The big picture. First off, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to investing. A lot of people believe that you need to have a lot of money to invest, or that you can strike it rich by investing in the stock market, or even that you can lose a lot of money. But it really depends on what you invest in, how you invest, who you invest with, and your goals, your risk tolerance, and your time horizon, which is what we'll learn about today. I'll start off by asking you each a question. There really isn't a right or wrong answer, but just to get an idea, what do you think investing is? What is investing to you? When you hear investments, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Growing your money.
Okay. Anyone else?
Placing your money in some type of vehicle in order to make more money.
Okay.
An opportunity for you not to work as hard.
That's true. So those are all good answers, and they are all absolutely true. So investing is when you buy something with the expectation that over time it will grow in value. That can be, like Chris mentioned, investing in a home, right? Investing in a property. Many of us have heard, or many of us have income properties. And so that's a type of investment. Investing in a sports team. We have SoFi Stadium across the street, right? Also investing in a business, investing in the stock market. Then we have investing versus savings. Can you give me an idea of the difference between investing and just saving?
Investing to me has more risk in, and it will allow larger dividends. Savings is something that's safe and it grows gradually.
That's absolutely right. So the first steps, you have to get started by asking yourself a couple of questions. First question is, what are we investing for? Are we investing for our future? Are we investing for our retirement? Are we investing for the trip to Europe? Are we investing for our child's education? So that's one of the first questions is, why are we investing? What's the goal? What's most important to us today? And what's most important to you and your family in the future? Again, maybe it's taking that vacation to Europe, or planning on buying your first or second home, planning for your retirement, or maybe planning for healthcare expenses, and also education, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for your children. The next question that you have to ask yourself is, what's your speed? And what do we mean by that is the goal that you have set, whether it's taking the trip or whether it's purchasing the home or planning for retirement, how long are you giving yourself to be able to accomplish that goal? Are you taking a trip to Europe in a year? Are you taking it in 2 years? When do you want to buy that first home? When do you want to buy that second home? Or when are you retired? Maybe you're still at the age where you're just accumulating and retirement might not even be on your mind. But it's really important to think, okay, at what age do I truly want to retire? Doesn't necessarily have to be the full retirement age that we're used to hearing, which is 62 years old, right? It can be, maybe I want to retire at 50, maybe I want to retire at 55. I just no longer want to work after a certain age. And deciding how long it's going to take you to accomplish that goal in your mind, that's what we call your time horizon. Again, vacations may have a shorter time frame. Maybe you're giving yourself a year. You want to take this trip a year from now. Or maybe you're planning for your child's education. Your child can be, in kindergarten. But that's the time where you might want to start thinking about, where is my child going to go to college? How expensive is that going to be? How am I going to be able to accomplish that goal? What can I do to make sure that my money is able to grow in that period of time? Same thing for retirement. Maybe retirement is 35 years out, but how are you going to get there? What vehicle are you going to get into in order to be able to get to your destination? A little or a lot. All investments have risks. Some have low risk, some have high risk. And it ultimately will depend on you, the investor, on how much risk you want to take. And that's what we call your risk appetite. Now, there's different ways to invest. You can invest by being hands-on, making some of the decisions yourself, or maybe you prefer to have a professional handle your investments for you. Now, we do have different types of accounts when it comes to investing. We have managed accounts and we have brokerage accounts. With a managed account, typically there is some sort of fee that you're paying to have that account managed for you. With a brokerage account, ultimately you are the decision maker. You decide what you want to invest in, what you want to purchase, or what you may want to sell. And within managed and brokerage accounts, you can choose to have an advisor work with you, or you may decide to do it on your own. If you decide to work with an advisor in a managed account, the advisor is going to ask you a couple of questions to find out, most importantly, what your goals are, what your time horizon is, and what your risk appetite is. And depending on what you answer and what financial situation you're in, they're going to make a recommendation on a certain portfolio that they feel will help you meet your goals. If you choose to have a managed account on your own, typically that'll be done on some sort of online platform, or you'll log on and answer a couple of questions, and depending on what your answers are, you can select what type of managed account you want to be in. That may be a conservative account, that may be a moderate account, or that may be an aggressive account. If you decide to work with an advisor and you move forward with a brokerage account, the advisor is going to give you recommendations based on your goals, but ultimately you're the one that decides if you want to accept that recommendation and move forward with what your advisor has recommended. If you decide to have a brokerage account on your own, you're in the driver's seat. You are in full control. You decide what you want to purchase, what you want to sell, and what you want to invest in. There's different types of accounts when it comes to investing. We have taxable accounts and tax advantage accounts. Does anyone know the difference between both accounts? Anyone care to share?
I'll just take a stab at it. Taxable accounts, I think of IRAs. Tax advantage accounts, I think of Roth IRAs.
Can you explain to us the differences?
So with individual retirement accounts, you can open up a traditional IRA where you're contributing pre-tax dollars, or you can open a Roth IRA where you're depositing after-tax dollars and investing after-tax money. One of the most popular pre-tax accounts that you guys may be accustomed to hearing about is your 401ks, right? With your 401ks, your employers might also offer to match your contributions. So that's a really great way to invest for your retirement and make sure that you're prepared for your retirement. Some types of retirement accounts, again, are 401ks, and as you mentioned, individual retirement accounts, which we all know as IRAs. Next is building your portfolio and really understanding your investments. What are you going to invest in? How are you going to build that portfolio? Is it going to be just stocks? Is it going to be bonds? Will it be a mixture of both?
Maybe can I just add some color to taxable and non-taxable accounts? So when we think of taxable accounts, those are accounts that you will get at the end of the year a statement saying you made this amount of money this year, and therefore you're accountable for that much money, right? So at the end of the year, you might earn X amount of money. You'll get a statement saying, hey, you've earned X with this account. This is taxable income that you need to report to your CPA, to your advisor, and so on. Tax advantage accounts may not have that, like a Roth IRA. Even an IRA, you don't get at the end of your statement because it gross tax deferred. Now, when you take it out, this is taxable money because it was never taxed, right? But Roth, that money's been taxed. So you put it after the fact. When it comes out, as long as you meet the requirements for that account, it comes out tax-free. So those are the difference between a taxable account versus a tax advantage account, as well as the type of vehicles we choose to put in the account. Like we can put a California municipal bond in there that would have tax advantages, and so on, versus a non-California bond that would not have a tax advantage. I just wanted to make sure we kind of touch on that. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Now we have different asset classes. What is going to be in our investment portfolio? We'll start off with one of the most popular ones, cash. What do you think about cash? How does cash work for you? What would you consider a cash investment right now?
Something liquid, So something you can get to real fast. A cash investment is a savings account, a checking account.
You're absolutely right. We should have you up here presenting.
Oh,
today.
I'm real savvy, that's why I love her.
So yes, cash is a short-term asset that may earn minimal interest, right? It's money that you may be saving and putting into your savings account or your checking account at your bank, and it's probably paying minimal interest. And it offers you that same day liquidity where if you need to access that cash, you know it's there. It's typically one of the safest type of investments for you, right? Next is bonds. Without looking at the screen, does anyone know what a bond is?
I know about savings bonds. We used to buy those when our kids were young.
Yeah. So bonds work in a similar way where bonds, essentially what it is it's a loan, right? A loan that you're giving out to a government, a loan that you're giving out to a municipality, a loan that you're giving out to some sort of corporation. And the expectation is that that government, municipality, or corporation will not only pay you back, but they will pay you back with interest. Lastly, we have stocks. Stocks is, when you hear the word stocks, sometimes the first thing you can think of is probably risk, right? It's, I don't know if I want to invest in stocks. Well, stocks allows you to share in a percentage of a share or a percentage to have a certain percentage of ownership in a company, right? Like if we think about, just to throw out a company name, right, like Coca-Cola. You can invest in Coca-Cola and you know that you'll have part ownership in that company by buying or purchasing one of their stocks, one of their shares. Any questions so far?
I just have a question.
Yes.
For the stock, sometimes they pay out dividends, correct?
Yes. Then we have mutual funds and ETFs. Mutual funds and ETFs allow you to be able to purchase a portfolio that may have a mixture of both stocks, bonds, and sometimes even cash. Mutual funds, you can sell out of a mutual fund. Typically, when you sell out of a mutual fund, you'll sell at the end of the business day, whatever the value of that one share was. Versus with ETFs, they sell very similar to stocks, where you can sell it throughout the day. Now, when it comes to investing, it's a great idea to make sure that you mix it up. And what do we mean by mixing it up? We mean it's good to make sure that you diversify your investment. That you have a mixture of stocks, that you have a mixture of bonds. Does anyone know why we would recommend that you diversify your investments?
Highs and lows, ebbs and flows.
Yes. So typically with mutual funds where you mix your stocks and your investments, stocks and bonds where you mix it up, the reason you want to do that is because sometimes when you have investments such as stocks, as an example, during a recessionary period, stocks tend to underperform, bonds tend to perform better. So by mixing your investments and really diversifying your investments, what you're really doing there is you're allowing yourself to mitigate any type of risk. If we think about it, you don't want to, even when you purchase a stock, you don't want to invest in just one company. Why? Because what if that company goes bankrupt? Or what if that company is not being managed in the right way? And you have all of your eggs in that one basket, that can be a very dangerous situation, right? Because as they go up, you go up, and as they go down, you can go down. Versus if you diversify your investments, it really does allow you to mitigate that risk, because you may have one investment that's doing well, one investment that's doing okay, maybe part of your portfolio isn't doing so well. Any questions? You also want to maintain your strategy. How do you maintain your strategy? You maintain your strategy by meeting with your advisor, meeting maybe on a regular basis. That could be quarterly, that could be semi-annually, that might be just once a year. It's important that you meet with your advisor and that you maintain your strategy because it allows you to know how you're tracking towards that goal. Are you on track to take your trip to Europe? Are you on track for your retirement? Are you gonna have enough when you retire? Also, sometimes we go through changes in life where we may want to make some changes to our portfolio. Maybe we have some additional expenses that we need to take care of, and we need to make sure that we're on the right track with that investment, right? Any questions?
This is very similar to your goals. Like, different times your investment strategy may change. You may have to pivot, but it's having those frequent meetings with your advisors to update them about your life-changing situation will be ways that the advisor can help you as well.
Let me ask a question right here. You know, I see where you said maintaining your strategy during a time that such as this that we're living in with this recession. I think that's more than any time else. It's difficult to maintain, you know, your strategy to keep it pushing when you're barely making ends meet. And so, how do you maintain your strategy when you barely, you know, you're trying to meet your pay burnout?
So part of investing is, we spoke about investing and we spoke about savings, right? And what's the difference? Before you invest, it's important that you also have money saved up, that you have that reserve, that you have that rainy day fund. It's not the best idea to invest money that you know you're gonna need or may need in a short period of time, because again, our goals are long-term goals, right? But if we need that money, then it's possible that you may tap into that investment account. And when you tap into that investment account, it may not be the best time to actually be selling out of that investment. You may be selling low, right? One of the first rules to investing that we all may have heard is buy low, sell high. The last thing we want to do is pay a certain price for an investment, and then during a time of need, we end up having to sell at a much lower price point than when we first got in. So to answer your question, it's important that you meet with your advisor regularly so that the professional can advise you on what to do to make sure that your investment is on track to meet your goals, but also that you can meet your liquidity needs and your daily expenses as well. Yes.
The time frame to meet or continue to meet with your advisor, I would imagine everyone would have a different need, but what would be like, I would say a standard, monthly, quarterly?
So it really depends on you and how often you want to meet with your advisor. I would say at a very, very bare minimum, you want to at least either meet with your advisor or speak with your advisor or have some sort of contact, whether that's over the phone or via email, at least quarterly, right? You want to have that contact with your advisor, but you definitely want to at least have your annual review so that the advisor can go over your statements with you, so that your advisor can go over your wealth plan with you, review your goals, ask you if anything has changed, what has changed, what are some of your needs, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals. But ultimately, when you invest, you're in the driver's seat. You want to let your advisor know, hey, I want to meet with you once a month. I want to meet with you quarterly. I want to meet with you once a year. So that's a relationship that you build with your advisor, and everyone's going to be different. Somebody may say, you know what, I only want to meet with my advisor when times are bad. I want to know what's going on when times are bad. Or I'm okay, I don't need to meet with my advisor. I can, review the account on my own. I don't have any questions. But it's definitely important to have that contact with your advisor because again, it's really relationship based. Again, life happens, right? Things change, goals change. Medical bills, they pile up. We don't expect to get injured or go out and, get in a wreck or anything like that, but things happen where you may need to tap into your investments. Or maybe you just started a family. That changes your goals. You may not have the goal of purchasing a vehicle once you have a kid, right? Maybe now it's, hey, I need to start saving and be able to purchase a home. Or maybe you have parents that are getting a little older and need some of your assistance. Or marriage, right? You just got married. Look, the goals may change there because now your goals are joint, right? It's with your significant other, and now you guys have joint goals. Or maybe it's a new job. That definitely will change what your goals are and what your objectives are, because maybe by getting a new job, you're now making more money, which means you may be able to contribute more to your investment. Or you got into a new role where you're not making so much more, and you need to meet with your advisor to find out what can I do to make sure that I am meeting those short-term goals and my daily liquidity needs. Chris, I think you paused it.
I messed up your rhythm. I apologize.
Andy, while we're waiting here,
Yes.
I have just a question. Like, with what's been happening financially, during the past couple of years, and I have money, I have investments. And, as I'm looking at my investments, I'm seeing how everything is just falling. I'm like, oh, I lost so much money. Oh, this is crazy. What would be your advice for someone like myself who's sitting here and watching themselves just getting killed financially? What do you advise?
So, that's a very specific question that I can't necessarily address at this time. But after this presentation, I can give you my business card so you can schedule an appointment to.
I have a financial advisor. Okay, I do have a financial advisor. And I have someone I deal with, and of course, I was like, I'm getting all my money, and they're like, no, calm down, it's gonna come back up, come ride this out, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That was the answer they gave me.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here looking, and I'm like, oh, lost, so many $1,000 today, or whatever.
Well, to not answer your question specifically, as far as for your situation, in general, when it comes to investing, there's always gonna be downtimes, uptimes, right? But whenever you have a gain or a loss, you don't necessarily realize those gains or losses until you actually decide to make that decision to say, I want them, right? Because when you invest, you purchase a certain amount of shares, whether it's in a mutual fund or whether it's a certain stock, but you paid a certain price point for that share or for that stock. Now, when things start to go down, you haven't necessarily lost the amount of shares or stocks that you have purchased. You still own those same shares, if not maybe more, because a lot of those shares will pay dividends. Those dividends get reinvested, which allow you to purchase more shares at that price. So you haven't lost those shares or the amount of stocks that you've actually purchased. That you still have. What has changed is the price that you paid. Maybe the price that you paid is less than what is currently in your account, or the price that you paid is more than each share or stock that's in your account. So losses and gains, you don't realize them until you actually decide to take it out.
That's good. Thank you.
Next is check your investments. You want to track the performance. You want to review how your money is allocated. And you also want to take a look at the fees. What are you paying a professional to manage your money? How much are you paying that professional? Or is that professional adding value to you and your investments? You want to take a look at all of that. And that ties into her question, to Lisa's question, where how often do you meet with your advisor? These are the reasons why you want to meet with your advisor. You You wanna check the performance. You want to make sure that your goals still align with what you're invested in. And you wanna make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck as well, right? So today, we learned about first steps, ways that you can invest, building your portfolio, and of course, maintaining your strategy. Any questions? Any questions now that the presentation is complete?
I have one.
Yes.
Can you touch on managed versus like ETF? So we talked about brokered and managed, but we didn't really like go deep in what does a managed account mean?
So with a managed account, you're paying a professional to sit down with you, talk to you about what your goals are, talk to you about your risk appetite, talk to you about your time horizon, and depending what your answers are to all of those questions, an advisor is gonna make a recommendation on a certain portfolio, a certain strategy, and say, based off of the discussion that we've had, based off of the analysis that we've completed for you, this is what we as an advisor feel would be best for you to meet your needs. But with a managed account, there's fees associated with that, right? You have to pay a professional to actually manage your account for you. And if it's hands-off, what that means is these portfolio managers are making the decisions for you. They are deciding what to invest in, what to sell out of. ETFs are very, very similar to stocks where you can trade them on a daily basis. You can sell out of them anytime. But an ETF is also going to have a mixture of stocks, bonds, and maybe even some commodities like gold, silver. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely. And just to highlight too, managed accounts are actively managed, meaning the portfolio manager, along with your advisors, if they have that option, they would make strategic changes to allocation or within the same asset class, like even small caps or large caps. We can see an opportunity for growth in semiconductor versus large stable companies like Coca-Cola because they're safer, Walmart. So there's active management involved in rebalancing regularly, because we talked about how some assets outgrow our expectations while other underperform. Well, we came in with the meeting saying we're going to have 50-50. Well, now it's 60-40. So we got to rebalance and bring it back to what we agreed on. And those are parts of why there's a charge involved with the managed account versus a passive investment account like an ETF. You just buy the best 500 companies in the US. We know they're going to do well over time, but the allocation is going to shift all over the place, and we have to be okay with that. So those are kind of two major differences.
And typically ETFs will be less expensive than a managed account.
And when you're saying ETF, what is ETF? Can you tell me what that?
ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund.
Exchange traded funds. Okay.
And I love that question. So this is where in the Q&A session, if maybe there were some things that you maybe didn't understand as far as investments is concerned, this is where Andy as a professional can help us kind of understand that. I know that, even before I got into the licensed banker position, I was asking what ETFs was. Luckily, I started to read like the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is another, financial publication that will kind of bring you up to speed on what's going on in the world as far as business, as far as trading, as far as investments is concerned as well. That's something that's also been able to guide me. Besides Chase, has been able to look at these different publications, kind of help me with my financial decisions when trying to make investment decisions as well before I sit down with professionals like the Andys or other professionals inside of Chase. So those can be tools that maybe Andy can expand on as well, that you can use once you leave here, that when you do come and sit down with your advisor, you may kind of build your vocabulary a little bit more to ask that question that you may want to ask but just don't know how to ask.
And also, to piggyback on what Chris is saying is, don't be afraid to ask questions to your advisor. That's what us as advisors are here for. We're here to answer any questions that you may have. We're here to educate you on some of the terminology. You don't have to know all of the terminology when it comes to investing, and you don't have to have all of the money in the world to be able to invest. There's platforms where you can invest online, and you can invest minimal amounts or an amount that you feel comfortable with. So when it comes to investing, you don't have to think that you have to have thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. You can start off your investment account, I'm sure on on any type of platform for as little as like $100. But just to kind of share, personally on when it comes to working with an advisor, really understand that that's a relationship. You have to have the trust to be able to work with that person. Because that advisor is gonna give you recommendations based on your needs, but they have to put you first, right? It's not about putting their needs first or their wants first or the firm that they work for first. It's about you. It's about what's most important to you, what's most important to your family, what are your goals, and really how much risk do you want to take, right? There's conservative accounts, there's moderate accounts, there's aggressive accounts, but it's all tailored to you and your needs. And it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to have 1, 2, 3 meetings before you actually decide and feel comfortable and confident in actually investing. Because you want to know what and understand what you're investing in. You can't just put your money into something and say, have a nice day, this is gonna, grow over time. No, you really have to understand that investment. This is your money that you're putting to work for your future, for your family.
And when they saying about your future, everybody has different time horizons, which means you have different periods of time where things are gonna mean things different for you in your life. So obviously when we're talking to the youth and we're getting them to invest at an earlier stage, they have a longer period of time to withstand the investment. So they're gonna see peaks and valleys a little bit longer. But as we get into that middle stage in our life, then maybe our risk tolerance is not as high as those who are young, as opposed to those who are near retirement and they want extreme safety. So everything is going to come at different timelines, but there's never a time where it's too late to invest, because you never know when your time on this earth has come to an end. And as we're seeing with a lot of individuals, they're actually starting to outlive their retirements. So you always have to kind of do a check-in with Andy. Like I said, no matter what stage you are, some of us might grind longer than others. Like you two in the back, not meaning to put you on blast, but your retirement came a little bit earlier than the average. And it's because you position yourself to make certain investments early on in your life, which made it easier as you're trying to near that time of retirement. So it may not be here, maybe people on live. I don't want you to ever think that it's too late to retire. And Andy is one of probably the best in the game to kind of illustrate or paint that picture for you in our community. I just think we need to paint a picture that's very vivid, that people can clearly see, and then that makes them feel more at ease and more trusting in regards to what investments can do for them overall.
Andy's on my team and he always puts clients first, and I can attest to that. I have the privilege of working with him, and every time I meet with him, he's always got clients' interest first and top of mind. So
Always.
And just short story about myself. I grew up here. I grew up in Mid-City. I actually worked out of some of the offices here. When I decided to become a financial advisor, I really did it because I wanted to help the community. I wanted to help others. I want to help them accomplish their goals. I'm really about building those relationships, and as John said, I'm really about putting you first, right? And I'm sure there's many other advisors that do the same thing. And so that's why, as I mentioned, it's important that you really sit down and meet with that individual and make that personal connection, because you have to be comfortable to be able to have some of those difficult conversations with your advisor. There may be times where you want to do certain things with your money, and you go to your advisor and you ask them that question. That advisor may have that difficult conversation with you and say, maybe right now is not the time. Or how do we plan for that goal that you weren't expecting? Or how do we plan for that unexpected expense that you didn't know was going to happen? How do we plan for that? But by having an advisor, they're there to assist you. They're there to answer your questions. They're there to help you financially. They're there to make sure that you accomplish what's most important to you.
I love it. So I see everybody's shy here. No, it's not. But as time goes along, we make Andy and our licensed bankers available to you. So if you feel like you want to expand on this conversation, maybe a person wanna ask questions one-on-one. This is the last piece. I was trying to share it on the screen, but it looks like my screen is having a problem. I have it on my computer. I'm gonna bring up the QR code again. The QR code at the end kind of tells us how to kind of make this, better for all of our congregations to where they can take better advantage of this the next time around. So I'm gonna bring up that survey. Kind of tell me how you feel. Kind of tell me some of the things that you kind of felt was beneficial during our journey together. So if it was the investment aspect, if it was the home lending aspect, if it was learning about just the essentials about learning about credit, learning about budgeting and saving and setting goals, we need to know that. Because what we want to do is, I want to know how we can start to get all of the congregations out. How we can get past the various excuses that we hear about them not being able to make it. Today there was no rain, so the rain can't be an excuse. I know I had them come to a branch, and they had to combat the traffic, but my question to you is, throughout your journey, and I'm gonna pose this to some of you who made this journey tonight. Throughout this journey, have you had obstacles that have gotten in your way of some of the things that you were trying to reach?
No, for that, no, of course.
So we know as people of color that there's going to be obstacles, but what we need to do now is try to find a way to get around those obstacles.
Right.
Because as I tell everybody, and I want them to hear me loud and clear whoever's online, we can't really use the excuse that major institutions aren't giving resources back to our community. We have to start looking at ourselves. And we have to say, what are we doing to take advantage of those resources? So I believe sometimes we're more powerful in smaller numbers, and I believe that strongly because the people who are here tonight were able to absorb something that was very knowledgeable. But just moving forward, let's just try to find a way, and please give me honest feedback of how we can make this better. Because that's the only way I'm gonna get better, that's the only way Andy's gonna get better, and the rest of my team is gonna get better as well. So without further ado, I appreciate you all. I thank you all for coming out, but I'm gonna come around my laptop. If you can, please just take a couple minutes to do the questionnaire at the end, and that's gonna give me feedback on how we can make this stronger and better going forward. I appreciate your time. Give yourself a hand. We're concluding tonight, but any questions you wanna have directly to Andy as well, throughout this survey, this will help me put you in direct contact with Andy, and he'll be able to have one-on-one conversations with you more in depth in regards to the investment aspect of Bateman Finance.